Alright guys, today in Solidworks I will be showing you a tutorial on how to make an organic shaped perfume bottle. This tutorial will be helpful for any kind of organic shaped bottle or packaging. I just happen to choose a perfume bottle in this situation, but we'll be using some line curves here to create any kind of interesting shape, and this is a really fun way to just play around in the 3D world, similar to how you would just kind of let your hand move across the paper when you're sketching. Sometimes you just let just let various lines create your form for you, and it's helpful. This is a helpful technique if you don't really have a direction and you're just kind of playing around with form. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up a new Solidworks part file. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and name this perfume bottle. And my name. Okay. Now we're going to start sketching on our right plane, and we're just going to rough out the general profile shape and also our dimensional box. So let's go ahead and choose our, let's go with our line tool here. Actually, I'm going to go center line, the construction line tool. And I'm just going to draw a box out here, here. And I'm going to give these dimensions in a second. So just create like a box like this with the center line in the middle. Perfect. Now let's dimension the height. And we're going to make that 80 millimeters. And then I'm going to make this shape asymmetrical. So, which means that it's going to be wider on one side than the other. And the center line here is where I'm going to have the straw for the perfume bottle come down. So I'm going to make this one, say 25 millimeters, and I'm going to make this one 18, like that. Okay, and now that I have that dimension, I'm going to draw my first spline curve, and I'm going to start, let's see, actually, I'm going to boost these numbers up a little bit. I want to make this one 35, and I'm going to make this one 25. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, that will work. And we can always adjust these numbers later. It's good to create this construction box here if you ever want to, and especially once you make your lines have relations to these. You can easily go back into the beginning and just change your dimensions here as you go. Okay, so we're first going to just use our spline to create a rough shape here, like this, and then one like this. All right. And actually, I'm going to delete these relations here because I don't actually want that on. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to make this curve here tangent to this vertical construction line here. So I'm going to select both the spline and the vertical line here. and choose tangent. And then I'm actually going to delete one of these spline points. You know what? No, I must leave that for now. Okay, this is what I want. Oop. Okay. So I'm just kind of moving these spline points around. Once I start setting constraints or relations on these, it'll be a lot easier to manage. So let's first, we're going to choose this diamond part of the spline, which controls the rotation, and I'm going to give that a vertical relation. Okay. And there we go. And that actually is starting to kind of look the way I want it to. So I'm going to use this other side here. And, first thing I want to do is I want to add a dimension from this point here to the center line. I'm going to make that, let's see here. I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah, I want to make that 10. Same with this other part. I want to make this 10. All right. That's kind of the look I'm going for. I want to make this a little bit skinnier actually, so I'm going to change this number down to 30. There we go. That's kind of the form I'm going for. And I'm going to bring this line over a little bit here. No, there we go. Okay. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to bring this dimension into 20 there. And now I'm going to dimension the bottom point here to my origin, and I'm going to give that 15. And same with this guy over, or the origin to the other spline point. I'm going to make that 20. And I'm not kind of liking this pregnant belly look quite yet. So I might boost that back up to 25. And once again, this is just I'm not teaching you guys how to necessarily design a beautiful package. It's more about how to design a organic shape. So don't judge me on my design right now. This is just a example. So with that, now we have both our left and our right profile here. I can exit my sketch, and I'm going to draw in our our front profile. And we're just going to do this on one side because we're going to mirror it. So the first thing I'm going to do is click my spline here. Oh, excuse me. I gotta do my center line construction box as well, just like I did on the last sketch. So we're gonna do our box here. Make sure that our relations are horizontal, vertical, and horizontal. Yes, okay. Now I'm going to dimension this to be 25 millimeters wide. So let's see, I'm just cross-checking with some other perfume bottles to see if that makes sense, and it does. Okay. And make sure those are snapped to place. There we go. Now I can start beginning my other sketch or my spline here. So I'm gonna click on the top. One second. There we go. And the side here, and the bottom. And just like before, I'm going to create a vertical relation to this top point of the spline. And I'm going to keep this one angled. And I'm going to create a tangency. So I'm just going to click the spline and the construction line and choose tangent. Now I can go ahead and play around with my spline points. Ooh, didn't like that one. Okay. I'm kind of going for something like this. And yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but this will give us a nice, interesting curve. So now I can exit my sketch. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use this sketch and this sketch here to create it's what's called project curve. So go ahead into your features menu, go over to curves, project curve, and make sure your projection type is on sketch. And I'm going to choose the sketch here and the sketch here. Oh, let's see. And I just remembered you need to separate out these sketches. Okay, so that's all right. What we can do is just make a new sketch on my right plane here. And I'm going to select this sketch here, this line, excuse me, and I'm going to do convert entity. Now I can exit my sketch, and what that does, if I hide my original first sketch, I have them separated out now. So once again, let's go to our curves, project curve, and choose our two sketches. And you'll see that it combines the information from the right plane and the front plane to create a 3D curve that's not associated to any plane. All right. And now what we can do is let's make sure we show our sketches. There we go. And actually, I'm going to quickly modify. I forgot to give this sketch dimensions on its 2 points. So let's do that real quick. Let's give this one 10. And the base here can be 15. All right. Now we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a boundary surface started here. And we're going to do that by going into our Surfaces tab. If you do not have this active, you got to right click and check Surfaces. And we're going to do a boundary surface. And I'm going to go ahead and just choose my curve here and then my other line. And you'll see that there's these little circles that appear on either end. If those, if the pink is on the top of this curve and on the bottom of the other one, then you're going to get this crazy looking bent surface. So to fix that, you just have to go up to your menu on the left, right click on the curve or the sketch you want it to flip, and you can choose flip connectors, and it should look right now. And then the second thing we want to do is select the sketch that's in the middle here, and I'm going to choose the option that says normal to profile. And what that does, it just makes it tangent to that face. This is important. Tangent to the line here, and that's important because when we mirror it, it's gonna make sure that there's no hard edge in the middle. Alright, let's see how that looks. Good. And the next thing we're going to do is create our bottom face and then the top face here. Okay. So let's choose our, and I'm going to show my original sketch now. And I'm going to make a new sketch on the top plane and reorient yourself. And I'm just going to create a line from, let's see, I'm going to make a line, sorry, alright, so I'm going to choose the spline tool again, and I'm going to click on the edge of this plane here. Then I'm going to click on this plane here, and then, or sorry, that point there, and then this final point. And if it doesn't get it right away, you might have to change your camera angle so you can select both points and do a coincident. And now we need to make, well, we don't have to, but I want to make a smooth transition between the left side and the right side here when we mirror it. So I'm going to create a vertical relation. Oh, nope, wrong one. Horizontal relation to that spline point. And then I actually don't really care what this one looks like just yet. I can always go back and modify it if I don't like the look of it, but we're just going to leave that for now. So I'm done with that part. And now I'm going to make a new plane on this area right here. So let's go ahead and choose reference geometry plane. And I can just click this point here and then the center line. And that creates a perpendicular plane to the center line that starts at that point. Okay. And we're going to create a new sketch on that plane. Okay. And I'm just checking something really fast. And I want to do an interesting chamfer or a bone line on this face here. So I'm actually going to first draw a straight line here and make that a dimension of about 5. And then now I can do my spline point. I'm going to choose something like this. And then over here. And now I'm going to make this this spline point have a, is it a horizontal? Yep, okay, horizontal relation. Sorry, I'm going to look down here. And then I'm just going to adjust this shape until I like what I see. Maybe I'll start like that. Yep. All right, that works for me. So let's go ahead and exit that sketch. And now we can do our another boundary surface. So we're going to because we didn't make a new sketch for this curve, it's still part of the other curve here. I'm going to select right click, go to selection manager, and I'm just going to choose my 3 arrow or 3 group here. The 3 mouse button here, which allows you to select individual points or lines. And I'm going to choose this line here, select OK, and then I'm going to select this curve over here. Now all I have to do is go to direction 2 And I'm going to choose my curve down here, and then my sketch on the top here. And you'll see now I get this kind of interesting bone line curve here. Which is kind of neat. Before I end the sketch, the last thing I need to do is select my curve that's on my center plane here that's going to be mirrored. And just like before, I'm going to do normal to profile. And I usually don't have to touch the tangency influence since I already have that kind of set up. But I usually leave it at 0, but sometimes it makes sense to bump it up a little bit if you want to change the shape. But that's up to you. And I'm going to press OK. So now you can start seeing how our shape is looking. And this is where I like to make any adjustments. For example, it's not too bad. Let's go ahead and mirror this surface first. So what I'm going to do is go into Features, choose Mirror, choose our mirror face plane. That's going to be our right plane. And under Bodies, we're going to select all of our surface bodies. And you can choose Knit Surface here if you'd like. Oh, you know what? We should knit those surfaces beforehand, because you can see now well, sometimes it's better to knit beforehand, but I'm gonna have to knit them again because I still have two separate surfaces. So under my Surface tab, I can go to Knit Surface and combine those two, merge entities, and select OK. Alright, now the last thing I need to do, actually, yeah, you know what, I'm going to modify this slightly. I'm going to actually bring in, I want to bring this form a little bit closer together. So let's go back to our first sketch here. And I'm going to bring that in to be about 5. No, that's too much. No, that's okay, yeah, 5. Alright, and now I can fix my top curve here. So I'm just deleting some relations that were set because it was coincident to the center plane here, I think. So let's give it a curve like that. All right. It's okay. Let's see. I might actually bring this curve in a little bit as well. So I'm just going to modify my first sketch, and this is going to be 28. There we go. All right, that's good enough for me for now. Okay, so now we need to create our top and our bottom plane here, surfaces, to make my surface model into a solid model. So let's go ahead and choose our Filled Surface button under the Surface tab. And I'm just going to choose all of the edges on the top here that needs to be covered. And do Fix the Boundary and Merge Result. And now on the bottom side, do the same thing. Merge result, and create solid should be checked as well now. There we go. Now we have a solid form. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and hide this plane because we don't need it anymore. And we can go ahead and hide some of these sketches as well. So I'm just right-clicking on the sketch and choosing hide. All right. It's an interesting form, you know. Like I said, you can always go back. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to modify this again slightly. I think it's a little bit too fat. So let's change this sketch. I'm going to make this one 20. Oop. And just going to modify this a little bit. To be honest, at this point, I probably don't need this. I can probably delete this spline point here. Oh, did not like that. Okay, I just deleted the tangency there. I think it, and then I can re-add it. Let's see. Nope. All right, you know, I'm just gonna leave that point for now. And let's see how that looks. It's a little bit better. I'm just going to do one last thing here. Bring this in. Let's make that 12. Oh. Did not mean to exit that. There, that's a little bit better. I want a little bit more of like an hourglass shape. And I'm going to make this a little bit less bowed on this side too. So I might bump this out to 16. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that is good for now. I could spend hours just modifying this. So, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. Although I am going to quickly change this bottom curve now. There we go. So you can see how it creates like a very nice bone line here that's very useful to add for a lot of different products. It creates a nice highlight. All right, so let's go ahead and create our cap. And I mean, I'm not going to create the whole bottle today, but I am going to add a little cap here. So I'm just going to create a sketch on this top plane, and I'm going to choose Convert Entities. And I'm going to extrude that up by 30. Oh, a little too much. Let's go 25. Yeah. And oop, I forgot to uncheck Merge Result, so let's do that. I want them separated. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to do is let's create a little around top for this bottle. Let's see, sketch. Let's dimension that 10. And we're going to extrude that up by 5. And we are going to merge result, but make sure that for the feature scope, the bottle is selected here. And click OK. Now we're going to add our various fillets before we shell the bottle. So let's choose our fillet, and I'm going to select my top here and give that a radius of 5. Oh no, 2. There we go. And I'm just going to choose this edge here, so I still keep my flat edge on that side. And now I'm going to do another fillet for this front side, but I'm only going to choose 0.5 for that. And I'm just going to turn my curve off because it's kind of annoying me. There we go. Okay. Now we are ready to shell. So choose your shell tool. I'm going to click on the top of the bottle here. And I'm going to choose 3 millimeters. Show preview. And select OK. You know, I might need to make this a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and I can actually, if I just click on that feature, I can change the dimension without entering the sketch by double-clicking on this dimension right here. So double-click it, and I'm going to make that 15. And then I just have to hit this traffic light rebuild button, and voila. Okay. So let's go ahead and section it to see how it's looking. And typically with perfume bottles, the bottom is a little bit more thickness to it. So I'm going to go into my Insert tab, go down to Face, and click Move. And I'm going to bump that bottom up by 2 millimeters. And then what I'm going to do is use the dome tool and click that surface. And I'm going to give that a dome of about 3 millimeters. Oh, I did not like that. Let's just try 2. All right, let's roll back. Let's see. I'm going to roll back before I do the move face and see if that works better. So 3 millimeters. Okay, it did. All right, well, let's just leave it at that then. Let's not do our move face because that actually does look the way I want it to. And then we're going to add a fillet here on the inside edge. So choose a fillet tool. Oops. And we're going to choose our edges here. All right. Oh, you know what? I'm going to add a fillet. I think what's causing that problem is this hard edge here. So let's, before we do our dome and before we do our fillets here, I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to delete my move face. I'm going to add an inside fillet here on this edge, which should help. And I'm going to need to access both of those edges, so I'm going to change my section view to do my front plane here. And now I can fillet these inside pieces here. And I'm going to do 5. Yeah. Okay, now let's see how the dome works. So I'm doing 3. Yep, and add my fillet. Good. I'm just going to do fillet of, let's see, 1.5. Good. Now that that's done, I'm also going to add a fillet on this outside here because I already have one hard edge. So let's see how that looks. Let's see, 5. Yeah. I actually like that a bit better because the hard edge tapers off. Yeah, so I'm going to stick with that for now. And typically, if I'm doing a production level part for this, I would do that fillet before I do the shell, so I have an even wall thickness. But with glass, it's actually okay because it's going to be uneven anyway, typically. That's why the bottom is so much thicker than the top. So we're going to leave it as is for now. And let's get back to our cap here. I'm gonna give a fillet on this top edge here, and I'm gonna make that 10. And then I'm gonna give it a 0.5 fillet around the edge here. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna isolate this part here, and I'm gonna create a cutout for the top of the bottle. So what I can do is I can sketch on this face, and sorry, I don't know if I mentioned I right clicked that part, and to isolate it, sometimes you have to click this double arrow at the bottom. You can't do it inside of Sketch. So outside of Sketch, you right click on the part and you can choose isolate, which really helps just quickly clear up the space so you can work just directly on that one part. So now I'll just sketch on the bottom of that cap, and I'm going to choose my sketch that I created the boss for the bottle, and I'm just going to offset that sketch by 0.25 millimeters. And now I'm going to cut in by 10 and choose the cap body and select OK. All right, so here's my perfume bottle. I can go ahead and just give this a glass material. And feel free to go ahead and add things like the straw. Here's my earlier model. I just did a revolve for this. Just a simple revolve down the origin. And then I just did a sweep for the straw here. So I chose that surface to sketch on. I created the thickness of the straw, and then I drew the sweeping line that it went down. All right. So there you have it. This is a good way to create organic shapes for any kind of packaging or just design elements for your products. All right, thanks guys for watching, and I hope you learned something. All right, take care.